All right, strap yourselves in. We're going deep on this one. Meta's brand new Llama 3 AI model. You sent over a ton of research,
Yeah.
articles, even some of your own notes. Let's try to untangle it all.
It's really amazing how fast things are moving. Llama 3 is a big step forward. It's
Yeah.
doing language, code, even images, and
Speech,
yeah,
potentially.
yeah, even speech.
Okay, so we've got a mountain of information here. Where do we even begin? What are the really key things that you need to know about Llama 3?
Well, it's like baking a cake, a really advanced AI cake. There are two main stages, pre-training and then post-training.
Okay, break that down for me. What happens in each stage?
So pre-training, think of it like feeding the AI a giant buffet of information, right? It's learning to predict what comes next in a sequence, almost like figuring out the next word in a sentence.
So the AI is devouring a library.
Yeah.
But Llama 3's library is,
Huge.
it's huge.
15 trillion tokens.
Hmm.
Those are the building blocks of text and code. Llama 2, that was its predecessor, was trained on 1.8 trillion. So that's a big jump.
So bigger data equals a smarter AI.
Well, it's not quite that simple, but data scale is definitely a factor. And it's not just about quantity, it's quality too.
Right.
Meta's been super careful about the data they use for both pre-training and post-training. You want to give the AI a balanced diet of information.
More AI junk food, right?
Yeah, think of it like they've crafted this gourmet menu, carefully selected the best ingredients, code, math, reasoning.
And all of that sourced from the web.
Yeah, vast landscape of the web.
Makes sense. Don't want the AI learning bad habits from shady sources. Okay, so what about post-training? What happens there?
Okay, so that's where we fine-tune the AI's palette, you could say. We're aligning it with human preferences, getting it to excel at specific tasks. It's like taking a really talented chef and then training them to specialize in a particular cuisine.
Okay.
Meta used a bunch of techniques. Reward modeling, supervised fine-tuning, direct preference optimization, all to shape the AI's abilities.
So the AI is not just spitting out random stuff. It's learning to create the dishes we want, right?
Right.
And this training's led to some pretty impressive specialties, yeah.
Absolutely. Llama 3 is not a one-trick pony. It's going beyond language, venturing into the realm of multimodality.
Wait, multimodality.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
And it means this AI isn't just limited to text. We could be talking about an AI that understands images, videos,
Speech?
even speech. Imagine an AI that can read your emails, analyze photos, respond to voice commands.
Okay, so not just a master chef, but like a whole culinary institute rolled into one.
Right.
But let's go back to basics for a second. We talked about that massive amount of data that Llama 3 was trained on. How about its actual size? Like, how big is this thing?
Well, the flagship model, it's got a mind-boggling 405 billion parameters.
Right.
That's like having a library with billions of books, and each one is filled with information about how to process and understand information.
Wow, that's a lot of books. But is it just about making the AI bigger, or is there something more to it?
Yeah, definitely more to it than just size. It's about finding that balance between the AI size and the data it's trained on. There's this really interesting concept called scaling laws that kind of helps explain it all.
Scaling laws.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so scaling laws are like a recipe for AI success. They basically say, as you increase the size of an AI model A&D, the amount of data you train it on, its performance is going to improve. But it's got to be in this predictable way. It's all about finding the sweet spot,
So it's like finding the perfect recipe.
Exactly.
Right ingredients and indeed the right size oven to bake that amazing AI cake.
Exactly. And Meta's really mastered this recipe. They've done incredible work to optimize the whole training process. They're using cutting-edge hardware, software innovations, to train a model of this size efficiently.
I bet that was a challenge.
Okay.
But all that technical wizardry has clearly paid off. Let's talk about what Llama 3 can actually do. Starting with coding. This AI is like a coding whiz from what I've seen.
It is, yeah. It goes way beyond just writing code. Llama 3 can generate documentation, debug code, even review code for quality and efficiency. It's like having this super-powered coding assistant by your side.
So it's not just writing code. It's understanding it, improving it.
Right?
It's got to be huge for developers. How do they teach it so much about coding?
Well, they used a bunch of techniques. One was generating synthetic data. So they're basically using the AI to create its own coding examples to learn from.
Wow.
They also did something called execution feedback, where the AI actually learns from its mistakes and gets better over time.
So it's learning by doing, getting feedback, iterating,
Yeah,
just like a human programmer would.
that's pretty neat.
What about languages? Can this AI handle more than just English? Is it a polyglot?
Absolutely. Llama 3 is fluent in a whole bunch of languages. It can understand and generate text in so many different languages, and with this, like, remarkable fluency.
So we're talking genuine multilingual understanding,
Yeah.
not just clunky translations.
Precisely. Meta took great care to make sure Llama 3 could grasp the nuances of different languages, you know? They crafted the training data and techniques to avoid introducing any biases, the limitations that come with traditional machine translation.
That's a huge step forward in making AI accessible and useful for people all over the world. Now let's talk about something that makes MY heads spin: math and reasoning. Can Llama 3 actually think logically, solve complex problems?
It can. Llama 3 tackles complex math problems, and it does it with this impressive accuracy. It's even surpassing some of the most advanced language models out there.
Hold on, are we saying this AI can understand the logic behind math problems, not just crunch number? Is that like true understanding?
It's getting there. Researchers had to overcome some unique challenges in training the AI for math and reasoning, but the results are remarkable. Llama 3 can even explain its reasoning, breaking down complex problems into these understandable steps.
That's wild. Imagine the possibilities in fields like scientific research, data analysis.
Yeah.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, can Llama 3 handle long documents, complex conversations,
Yeah.
without getting lost? Does it have good memory?
That's another area where Llama 3 really shines. It can process and understand these super long inputs, something that a lot of other AI models struggle with.
So it's like a marathon runner of the AI world,
Yeah.
able to go the distance without losing focus.
Exactly. And this ability is really important for things like document summarization, code analysis, even having these like back and forth conversations, remembering what was said earlier.
How did they train the AI to handle so much information without getting lost?
They had to get creative. One of the techniques they used was they actually generated long-form content using earlier versions of Llama 3. So they basically gave it a workout to build up those long context muscles, you could say.
Oh, wow.
They also use this mix of clever algorithms and data structuring techniques to help it manage all that information.
So they basically had the AI train on its own output to improve long-form comprehension.
That's really clever.
Okay, but can this AI just sit there and crunch data? Or can it actually interact with the world around it?
Well, that brings us to tool use.
Ooh.
Llama 3 can actually use external tools, things like search engines, code interpreters, to enhance its capabilities.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not just a brain in a jar. It can reach out and actually interact with the world. Give me some specific examples of how that works.
Okay, so imagine you ask Llama 3 a question, right? And it needs information that goes beyond what it's already learned. It can actually go out and use a search engine to find the answer and then give it back to you.
Wow.
Or let's say you need to analyze a data set. Llama 3 can actually use a code interpreter to run specific calculations and then give you those results.
So it's like the AIs learn to use the internet and software tools,
Yeah.
just like a person would.
Yeah.
That opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
It does. It means the AI can access and process information in these incredible ways.
Mhm.
But with this increased capability, we got to think about the potential for errors,
Right.
even hallucinations, you could say.
You're talking about those instances where an AI confidently gives you false information, like
Right.
making things up. How did Meta try to prevent that with Llama 3?
So ensuring factuality is a huge EE priority for any AI developer. Meta put a lot of work into making Llama 3 as reliable as possible. They focused on data quality training methods.
Okay.
For instance, they developed this knowledge probe to identify areas where the model might be prone to hallucinations.
Oh, interesting.
They also did refusal training, where they actually teach the AI to say, I don't know, when it's not sure about something.
So they're teaching it to be more humble, aware of its own limits.
Right.
I like that. But what about safety in general? How do we make sure that a technology this powerful is used responsibly, ethically?
That's the big question. And Meta's taken lots of steps to address the potential risks. They're careful about selecting training data to avoid bias. They implement safety fine-tuning to reduce harmful outputs.
Okay.
They even created the system-level safeguard called Llama Guard.
Mama Guard. Tell me more.
It's like a watchful guardian for the AI. It's this suite of classifiers that work around the AI's input and output, like an extra layer of protection against misuse.
So it's like a safety net,
Yeah.
preventing it from, like, taking any dangerous leaps. That's good to hear.
Mm-mm.
But I imagine running a model of this scale must take a ton of computing power.
Yeah.
How do they make it efficient enough to actually be useful?
Right. Running a 405 billion parameter model, it's not easy. But Meta's done impressive work to optimize Llama 3 for efficiency.
Okay.
They use things like pipeline parallelism and FP8 quantization.
Pipeline parallelism.
Yeah.
Okay, break those down for me. What exactly are they, and how do they make the AI more efficient?
Right, so pipeline parallelism, it's like dividing a complex task into smaller steps, right? And then you assign those steps to different workers.
Well,
They can work simultaneously. It's like an assembly line for information processing.
so breaking down the problem and parallelizing the work.
Exact.
Smart. What about FP8 quantization?
Okay, so FP8 quantization, that's a bit more technical. But basically, it's about finding ways to reduce the precision of the numbers used in the AI's calculations. Might sound counterintuitive,
Right.
but by using slightly less precise numbers, you can save a ton of computing power without sacrificing accuracy.
So finding shortcuts in the math without compromising the quality of the results.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very neat. Okay, so who gets to use all this amazing technology? Is it locked away in Meta's labs?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Meta has decided to release Llama 3 under an open source license.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
They're just giving it away.
it's a bold move, but it's all about transparency and encouraging collaboration. They're basically inviting the world to scrutinize, adapt, and build upon their work.
So they're saying, here's the recipe, world. Let's see what amazing dishes you can create.
Exactly.
I love that approach. But with all this talk about technology, I'm curious to hear what you think about potential applications. What can we actually BO with Llama 3?
Well, that's a whole other conversation. The possibilities are pretty vast, right? We're talking education, healthcare, entertainment, scientific research. The list goes on.
All right, let's take a breather and save that for next time.
Mm.
I need a moment to process all this amazing information. This is just the tip of the iceberg, though, right?
You could say that. We've only scratched the surface of Llama 3 and what it can do.
I can't wait to dive deeper. See you in part 2.
Okay, so we've covered the nuts and bolts of Llama 3, but now let's talk about what everyone wants to know. What can this thing actually do? What are the most exciting potential applications?
Well, we've barely scratched the surface here, you know. Llama 3's potential applications are vast as the data set it was trained on. But I'd say if I had to pick a few areas, I'd start with education.
Education. Interesting. I'm always fascinated by AI and learning, where they intersect. What kind of impact could we see from Llama 3?
Imagine a world where every student has this, like, personalized AI tutor, right? Available 24/7,
Wow.
adapts to their learning style, their pace. Llama 3 could make that happen.
So it's not about replacing teachers with robots. It's more like augmenting human instruction with AI-powered tools.
Exactly. Empowering teachers, giving students that personalized support they need. Llama 3 could help with lesson plans, automating tasks like grading, even analyzing student data to see where they're struggling.
That's a powerful vision for the future of education. What about other fields? Healthcare. I've heard a lot of buzz about AI revolutionizing medicine.
The potential is huge, yeah. Llama 3 could help doctors diagnose diseases more accurately, personalize treatment plans, analyze medical images, even help with drug discovery.
So AI could have a role in almost every aspect of healthcare, it sounds like.
Right.
But I also know there are concerns, right, using AI in a field this sensitive. Things like patient privacy, the potential for algorithmic bias.
You're right, those are all important points. In healthcare, trust and transparency are key. We got to be cautious, make sure these AI systems are thoroughly tested, free from bias. And that patient well-being is the top priority.
It sounds like a lot of work to do to make sure these AI tools are used responsibly in healthcare. But let's shift gears for a second, something a bit lighter. Entertainment. Movies, music, games. What role could Llama 3 play there?
Get ready for some seriously immersive, interactive entertainment. Llama 3 could help create video game characters that are more realistic, responsive to the player. Imagine AI-generated music playlists that adapt to your mood, your listening habits. It could even write scripts for movies and TV shows.
AI-powered characters that learn and evolve as you play. Soundtracks that adjust to the emotion of a scene. Stories that are tailored to you. That's like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But as AI keeps advancing, these ideas are becoming more and more real. Think about playing a game where the characters remember your choices and change how they behave.
Wow.
or watching a movie where the plot changes based on decisions you make.
That's mind-blowing. Sounds like AI could totally change how we experience entertainment. But let's not forget the more serious side of all this. AI's role in research, tackling global challenges. What about that?
That's where we see AI's real potential to make a difference. Llama 3 could help scientists analyze those massive data sets, uncover hidden patterns, accelerate research in areas like climate change, disease prevention, even design new materials.
So we're talking AI helping to develop life-saving vaccines, combat climate change. That's the kind of impact that could change the world.
It is, and the beauty of an open source model like Llama 3 is that it empowers everyone. Researchers from all over the world can collaborate. We're not limited to a few big tech companies anymore. It's a global effort.
That's inspiring, but we've got to acknowledge the potential downsides too, right? We talk about bias and data privacy in healthcare. What about the economic impact of all this? People are worried about AI taking jobs, leading to unrest.
Those are valid concerns for sure. We need to talk about the social impacts of AI openly and honestly. We need to think ahead. How do we prepare the workforce for the changes? How do we make sure the benefits of AI are shared fairly? How do we use this tech to create opportunities, not make things worse?
It's a complex issue. No easy answers. But we have to have the conversation. We can't just blindly embrace this tech without thinking about the potential downsides.
Yeah.
But I got to say, for all the challenges and the uncertainty, I'm optimistic about the future of AI.
Yeah.
It feels like we're at the beginning of something really big.
I agree. It's a revolution, and Llama 3 is just one example. This tech is evolving so fast. It's already impacting our lives in so many ways.
It's changing how we work, how we learn, communicate, even how we think.
Yeah.
It's all happening right now.
Right now, and you, the listener, you're a part of this. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, it's important to stay informed, understand the potential, and participate in these conversations about the future we're all creating together.
Knowledge is power. And the more you know about AI, the better prepared you'll be. So as we start wrapping up this deep dive into Llama 3, we want to leave you with one final question. How do you think this technology will shape your future? What role will you play in this exciting and sometimes kind of scary AI-powered world?
That's something to think about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
And remember, the future of AI isn't something that's happening to us. It's something we're creating together. Now let's talk about what Meta's done to make Llama 3 accessible to everyone.
Yeah, they went with this open source approach.
It's a move that's causing quite a stir. And I'm really curious to hear your take on what it all means for the future of AI.
It's a bold move for sure, and it could really shake things up in the AI world. Open sourcing a model as powerful as Llama 3, it could unleash this wave of innovation.
Right.
Researchers and developers everywhere will have access to this cutting-edge technology.
It's like opening up the AI playbook,
Yeah.
right? And saying, hey, everyone, come on in and play.
Exactly.
So what do you see as the biggest pluses of this open source approach?
Well, for one, transparency.
Okay.
By putting the code and training data out there for everyone to see, Meta's basically saying, hey, take a look at our work. This open approach, it can help identify those hidden biases, safety concerns, areas that need improvement, much faster than if they kept it all secret.
So it's like crowdsourcing AI development, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Tapping into the collective brain power of the whole world.
Pretty cool. But it's not just about finding problems, is it?
No, it's also about collaboration, speeding up the pace of innovation.
Right.
Open sourcing can lead to all sorts of new stuff, applications, tools, even brand new AI models built on top of Llama 3.
Wow.
We could see this explosion of AI creativity.
Right, like planting a seed and watching it sprout into this whole ecosystem of AI possibilities.
Exactly.
But with all this good stuff, we have to think about the potential downsides too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
There are risks, aren't there? I mean, what if the wrong people get their hands on this technology?
That's a valid concern. Malicious actors, they could potentially misuse the open source code. They could create harmful applications, spread misinformation, even, develop dangerous weapon systems.
That's a scary thought. It sounds like we're walking a tightrope here.
Yeah.
Enabling innovation, but also trying to prevent harm. How do we find that balance? Mitigate the risks without stifling progress.
It's tricky, no doubt. We need clear ethical guidelines, responsible development practices, maybe even some kind of regulatory frameworks to make sure this technology is used for the right reasons.
Right.
It's all about building a culture of responsibility in the AI community.
It's like we need a global set of rules for AI development. Make sure everyone's playing by the rules.
Exactly.
But even with all that, there's no guarantee, right?
Yeah.
Open sourcing could still lead to some unintended consequences.
True, we're in uncharted territory. There will be bumps along the road. But I think the potential benefits, accelerating progress, making this technology available to everyone,
Yeah.
I think that outweighs the risks.
I'm inclined to agree. It's a leap of faith, but it could lead to a better AI future for all of us. As we're wrapping up this deep dive into Llama 3, I want to bring it back to you, the listener. We've gone through all the technical stuff, talked about the possibilities, even touched on some philosophical questions.
Yeah.
What does it all mean for you, Elsie?
That's the question we should all be asking. Llama 3 is just one example of what's happening in AI right now. This technology, it's evolving so rapidly, and it's already changing our lives.
It's changing how we work, how we learn, how we talk to each other, even how we think about the world.
Yeah, it's a revolution, and it's happening now.
Right now. And you, our listener, you're part of it. As AI becomes more and more a part of our everyday lives, it's important to understand it, understand its potential, both good and bad, and be part of the conversation about where we go from here.
Exactly.
Knowledge is power, right? The more you know about AI, the better equipped you'll be. So as we close out this deep dive on Llama 3, we want to leave you with one last thought. How do you think this technology will shape your future? What role will you play in this exciting, sometimes scary AI-powered world?
It's something to think about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep diving deep.
And remember, the future of AI, it's not happening to us. We're creating it together.